Hey, this is Dustin with the PPC Pros. I'm doing this quick video with my buddy Kevin with Destiny Water Adventures. Kevin, thanks for chatting with me for a few here.
Awesome, man. Yeah, thanks for having me, dude. Thanks for having me, and man, thanks for having me, man. Be a part of the PPC Pros journey into review accumulation, man. It's been
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. No, it's been great. That's why I want to have you on and kind of chat with you about it. So this is something that, we've helped clients do over the years at a smaller degree, but now like the tour operators, which is what you do, we're looking at ways to improve what they're already doing. You had about 502 reviews, and we started this process of, looking at ways to reach out to your customers, finding ways to help you, build more reviews, just getting in touch with them more often,
Yeah.
and doing it in a way that was systematic and more or less hands off for you, which is the goal. So it actually happened every day, with or without you. But I just wanted to kind of talk to you about that. And so far, we're about a month in. We've gone from 502 reviews to right now I'm looking at on my screen 581 reviews. So just shy of 80 reviews in about a month.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think what's important to note is the amount of time it took me to get to the 500. Uh, and so starting into season, which was our fourth year, I think I already had like around 300 or so reviews, 330 reviews or something like that. And then, as you know, my business is extremely seasonal. So the bulk of those reviews all came, um, in about 90 days. So one could argue that within 90 days, I was, maybe year one, I did like 100 reviews. Year two, we did another 100. Year three, somewhere like that, right around 100. This year, we went real hard on our own. And so over from June to August, we break out like 200 reviews. I mean, I'm going hard, man. We're begging our customers for them. I'm running contests for my employees. I'm paying out bonuses. We're retargeting through drip campaign, email. I mean, we're layering all this different stuff, and the bulk of our season comes in those 3 months, and bang, we get 200 reviews. I think it's a home run. Enter September, which is the slowdown. Like all the breaks come to a screeching halt, and October really comes to a halt. So in about the last 30 days, realistically, I'm doing maybe a third of the volume that my business is typically doing from June to July to August. So over those months, we're doing literally triple, July quadruple the numbers, and we're seeing maybe 67 reviews, and that's going really, really aggressive for us. A lot of time spent on my end, a lot of time spent on my staff's end, and then enter in Dustin, and Dustin says, "Hey, Kevin, like, what do you think your business needs?" And of course, I'm like, reviews. Anecdotally, there was just something just came out. There was in one of the Facebook groups that I manage for tourism and operators. They did a quick little study, and they were talking about what customers were, how they made their decisions, their purchase journey, as it were. And it was like price was bottom, and three sectors above is reviews. It was one of the highest mitigating factors when it came to the decision making that customers rated as being important to them. So of course we always knew that reviews were extremely important. Without blowing a bunch of smoke up your ass, I mean, to see those 3, 4, 5 reviews coming in a day when I'm doing, I mean, what, 8, 9 rentals at most. Like some days, like it's like we're hitting, like it felt like the conversions were like 100%. Like I had 4 boats that go out that day. I didn't go back and like look at what review came from where, but I mean, man, the conversions on the reviews were just, they were crazy high, man. I mean, to say that the results have been dramatic, I think is an understatement, because just every day I'm just, I'm tickled pink, because as we sort of said like earlier, like, I was really hustling and shaking the tree for these reviews, and with what you've implemented for us, I mean, I haven't done anything. Like I'm like, oh, okay, like, hey man, here's a concern from a customer. You might want to, like let's handle it this way. But for the most part, it's all 5 stars. I mean, we've gotten to, like, kind of like negative feedbacks, but not bad reviews. So just the entire process has been like, I mean, you just can't ask for like a better end result and something like that. And I'm a little, because you've done so much for us, I'll come out here and do this, but I don't. I don't want any of my competitors to know about this or you or anything like that, because the reality of it is, I think that if we started this in June, I would probably have like an additional 500 reviews. I feel like it would be like just an insane amount. So yeah, man, it was a huge game changer for us, and I definitely appreciate it, because it is literally, I hate to use this phrase, but it was 10x our reviews. It really has.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, so talking about some of the other things you were doing, you're talking about hustling, and you were like having your staff do things, and you were doing things. And first of all, I'm going to say that you guys have great customer. You guys have to do a great job. So like, if you're a business that's doing a great job, there's no reason you shouldn't have good reviews, except that people don't want to take the time to do it. But if you're a business that does really crappy work, or you don't take care of your clients, your customers, it doesn't matter what you put in place, you're not going to get those great reviews at the same rate typically. Yeah. So like, first of all, you handle the big part that a lot of business owners fail with, which is giving outstanding service. And so you're worthy of those reviews, right? What we were able to do was tap into your group of people who experience what you have to offer and make it easy for them to give you that result, to give you a good review, right? And then also, like you said, for the feedback. But in terms of like what you were doing before, like what was working or not working, or like, where did you see like, hey, I was trying to do this to get customers to leave reviews? And you don't have to get into super detail if you don't want to, but just higher level, how much time went into it, how much headache went into, like, tell me about that a little bit.
So obviously it's not just my company, that I deal with a ton of different operators in my space. So I asked these questions of operators myself. I felt like I was probably doing more than your average bear. We would run a campaign. We'd run like a drip campaign through email, and whatever was a generic, hey, how was your whatever? And we got back to them, whatever. We did that. I ran contests. I paid my employees. I ran a contest of being like, all right, whoever gets the most reviews is going to win $500 at the end of this month. I mean, $500, man, that's a lot of bread. And I think like maybe out of it, all of them hustling, like they maybe pulled 100. Like I think that was the bulk of those 200. But yeah, it literally cost me almost $5 a review. It was insanely expensive. I'm one of the only guys doing this. So we're running drip campaigns. We're hammering people. We're getting back to them through our booking software, through Fair Harbor. So that was me being aggressive. And frankly, like it's not just our space, but it's really any space that you're going to get into. You're going to see, like, for the most part, this is a very unused resource. This is like a chink, and this is like a chink in most people's armor that they're missing. They're doing everything else. They're running Google ads. They're hitting social. They're doing social organic. And then the actual conversation that they're having with their customers just stops dead at the reviews, because people are reading that, and then they're also reading the responses. That's another thing. Like, we went real hard on all of our responses. Now I've got, like, I will say I've got a lot of catch up to do on a response. And we actually did respond to some of them for you, by the way. I did, and I appreciate that. But I am going to preach it to your people. Like, that's amazing that you guys are doing that. But I do take a lot of pride in responding to my reviews, so it's not stock. So that conversation is happening with the customer afterward. So as Dustin did mention, we do provide great customer service. So, to get that back, to get those reviews when people are like, yeah, we definitely, leave you a review, and they mean to, but life happens. In our industry, they're on vacation, things slip away, so you guys had a really good way of making sure the customer outreach was happening, that conversation was happening, that they understood that they were paying it forward by leaving us a great review, or potentially paying it back, depending on how you look at it, us going above and beyond. I also feel that needs to continue down that path. Now they leave us a great review. Well, now I need to leave you a great response, because that is a part of our total marketing package and our marketing objectives, that people understand that the conversation, that we do care, not just about their money or their trip, but but how they felt afterward and how appreciative that we are of them leaving that review. So it becomes a very reciprocal thing. And you guys did the majority of the heavy lifting. So if it's like that's something that you do and you're like not super worried about it, but at the rate of reviews that we're getting, it's like, man, like, okay, well, maybe we do need a little bit of help because I'm going to be writing a freaking novel over here to the amount, because I'm thinking about June, July, and August. I'm like, man, I'm going to have 1,000 reviews I'm going to have to respond to. But you know, it's worth it, you know, depending on what you're paying. If you're doing $5 a review, man, I mean, that'll get expensive real fast.
Yeah. I mean, well, let's talk about that a bit, because, you know, you already kind of talked about this for a minute. It's like, I think reviews are an underutilized source of conversion rate optimization, which is a fancy way to say that if you want more business, reviews is a very inexpensive way, if you have the right systems in place and processes to help that. Because if you're running ads on Google, your reviews can show up, or people are already maybe seeing your business name there with your reviews. If you're doing organic, any kind of SEO, Google Maps, for sure, your reviews are right there. This could also be TripAdvisor reviews, not just talking about Google, but reviews are what usually helps sway the decision for a lot of people to actually reach out to you. And so because people don't always reach out, I think a lot of businesses don't realize the impact it has before they reach out. And it could be the difference between them calling you or calling another provider because they have better reviews than you. And you're like, well, I'm spending all this money in marketing. Why am I not getting the result this guy is getting? It might be that he's got better reviews. It could be other things as well. But what do you think the value of, if you had to put a dollar amount on a review for your business, you have a lot of reviews. I think that dollar amount would be a lot less than some people that have, if you got 10 reviews, honestly, I think the value of the next review is probably a lot higher than if you have 15,000 of them, right? So let's just talk like in generalities, but what do you think the value, if you had to put a dollar amount on it, you already did in a way, but what do you think that would be for people in your space, for operators, for people who are doing this? If they have, let's just say they have less than 50 reviews, what do you think that value is?
I'm going to be dramatic here, man. I know I'm never known for being dramatic, but I'm going to be dramatic here. And I'm going to say it's if you're an operator that's operating between at $100,000 to $200,000 a year level, I think it's worth $1 million.
That's pretty high. And
this is why. Because I can tell you that when I search my company and Google finishes my search for me, even when I'm doing it from, because I'll search from a private or from incognito mode from different Safaris. So when Google finishes my search terms, it finishes Destiny Water Adventures, and then the second one it finishes is Destiny Water Adventures reviews, not Destiny Water Adventures location. They want to know what people are saying about me. So I feel that we've hit TripAdvisor. We obviously hit Google because that's our brand. I don't need to direct. I want people to come to my website, not TripAdvisor's, and our other affiliates, TripShock. TripShock, we're very highly reviewed. So when I look at the trajectory of my company, the way we've been able to make the gains that we have and going past our competitors, like I almost uniquely attribute that to reviews and to a similar extent copywriting, which I do feel comes back into reviews. And again, it comes down to those responses. So if somebody leaves me a crummy review, like one of my favorite tactics to do is remarket to the person reading that review. It's also, if somebody's giving me a crap review and I feel like it's unfair and like they're out of line, it's also my middle finger to them as well. It's like, I'm really glad you had a terrible time. Or I'm really sorry you had such a terrible time on your pontoon boat rental in Destin, Florida. You know, I'll throw like long T. Does that help my SEO? I don't know. But in my mind, I like to, or I'll just be like, you know, I throw a commercial in those review responses. I'll be like, you know, we're 15 minutes from Crab On and blah, blah, blah. So I throw ad copy in there. I want to use ad copy in there because somebody somewhere is reading it. They're reading the negative and they're reading the positive. So I don't care what I have to do to increase my conversion. So the long answer to that is I think it's worth whatever you're willing to spend, whatever you're willing to increase eyes, increase positivity around your brand. I think it's everything. When I look at Disney World, they have like 190,000 reviews or something like that. And it's just like, how do you scale? How do you do anything? You have to watch what the greatest companies, the most expensive companies in the world, how they operate. Disney very much cares about the reviews. The big boys in their industry, they care about the reviews, and it's not just platitudes. They're like, how can we fix this? How can we make this better? So what is the what is it? The LVC, lifetime value of a customer.
Yeah.
So if you can retain somebody, and let's say we can even get into that. Let's say that you're not just being, oh, we didn't do anything wrong, and I'm just going to use this as a commercial to get back at the person that left me, like who like tried to shame me or whatever. Okay, maybe they do have a legitimate concern. Maybe they said something that was right on point, and now you need to address that with your staff. They found a legitimate hole in your game. Okay, now we're not just talking about retaining your customers. We're talking about fixing a fundamental flaw in your SOPs. So they might have pointed something out that was absolutely accurate, that needs to be fixed, that needs to be addressed. Boom, you address it. You save reviews, you save money, you save time and training. I mean, the rabbit hole that you go down with this is your feedback. This is your data. This is what you're using to make your decisions, your day to day, and how to increase your revenue. Reviews are everything, because that's customers telling you what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. And to me, to put a hard number on it, everything, the whole entire growth of our company, I put on customer service and people spreading the word. It's the cheapest form of marketing, is word of mouth.
It's the highest impact too, because a referral will convert usually a lot better than a cold person who's not exposed to the brand. And I think, what you're talking about, which is something that we're kind of doing at the same time we're getting these reviews, we're getting customers to communicate with us, to give us feedback.
Yeah.
And that's the part that I think in some ways, some businesses don't value the feedback that customers have for them because they're used to being complained to. But in your case, you have so much feedback outside of the review. Before we got a review, you got some awesome feedback of people being appreciative of your company, of
Sure.
Chris, of all these guys on the team. And isn't it great to be able to go back and say, hey, Chris, look what this customer said about you. Hey,
Yep.
Joe, look at this guy. And it doesn't always have to be bad news. But if you don't know how to have those conversations or have a way to do that, then you miss out on the benefit of good communication, that your staff gets to enjoy the fruits of their labor, and they should. And also, of course, negate any potential issues, because now you're seeing, wow, this person said Chris is lazy. That person said Chris is lazy. Okay, we need to have a conversation with Chris, right? Even if they leave you bad reviews and you can't stop that from happening, okay, fine. But now you know what the issue is, you can address it. Where a lot of business owners assume that people are doing what their staff is doing what they're supposed to, and they only find out when it's too late that's not the case. And how do you find that out, right? How do you do it?
Yeah,
this is an honest way to do that.
Data accrual. And if you haven't been paying attention to the last 20 years, like that's what everything is all data. And this is especially when you have companies like Apple, sort of pulling the curtain back over some of this data that we had access to even a year ago. Now we have to find creative ways of getting people's data and figuring out I don't know, like stealing their data, but figuring out what you want, who our demographics are, who is wanting to have this conversation, who's leaving the roost, who's our ideal customer, like who are we having this conversation with? Mm-hmm. And you're literally given novels worth of information, novels worth if you're willing to make that investment. And you have to make this investment. It's not, and I don't care how you want to make it. You want to make it with Dustin? Fine. You want to make it on your own? Cool. I mean, I can only tell you anecdotally what we've seen working with Dustin on this project over the last 30 days. He's not paying me in diamonds, to be out here and have this conversation. So, I mean, you can go over to Destiny Water Adventures on our Google page, and you can look back at the last 30 days and actually just go, oh, holy shit. like look at August, and we logged 40 reviews or 30 reviews or whatever it was, or whatever abysmal amount of reviews it was. Again, I paid these guys to get these darn reviews for me. I paid them $500. That's where we got the bulk of our reviews this summer. Like I said, it was like 100 of them, and then realistically there was like another 100 or so spread out from March, April, May, June, and August. So I without going back and looking, I think August maybe like 20. And then again, we were doing 2 to 3 times as much business. So I feel like again, if something that you're not 100%, sure of, you can just go look at our reviews and look at our numbers. We started around, I think, like September 5th. It's literally only been 30 days. You can see the amount of reviews that we got in those 30 days. That's when we started with Dustin and PPC Pros, and you just see it like every day. Like I get the notifications on my GMB, and it's just like, boom, you got a review. Boom, you got a review. Boom, you got a review. Boom,
it's
you got a review.
Annoying after a while, right? In a good way.
No, it's awesome, and it's not negative, because we're having this conversation trying to fix the problem before it gets to them leaving a bad review. So it just like and it's going to sound super corny, but a lot of times I'd be like, oh, my heart would stop, because a lot of times, like especially at the end of the season, we just stopped pushing. I was like, man, I'm tired. Like, it's like we didn't have like a concrete automated process in place, and so we just stopped really pushing for them. So when they were pinging up, they were not the best reviews. Like they were the people that were upset. And not only did we not get to have a conversation with them by reaching out first, by saying, hey, how was your trip? Oh, you were upset. Oh, how can we fix it? So we didn't even have to, we proactively got to get to the root of the problem before they left the complaint. And then I had to go backwards and go, oh, I'm sorry, let me see. Oh, what did we do? Can I get you a refund? Nope. We had the conversation first. We got rid of, we walled off having the bad review, made the customer happy, and then no more conversation about that. Instead, it just now every time it's literally just like, oh, that's a 5-star. That's a 5-star. And again, feel free to audit this this testimonial if you want to, and go back and look at Destiny Water Adventures GMB and look at the last 30 days of reviews. It's literally the last one, like the last one we had was a bad one, and I was like, oh my god, I gotta figure out.
I remember that I was coming into it and I'm like, all right, so what's the most recent review? The guy James that was all upset about it because of a storm, which ain't your fault. You're not the weather channel.
We went and rescued him and gave him a refund. He was like, 1-star.
Still mad. Like,
yeah. What?
This is what you deal with. And I mean, that's why if you don't take control of the situation, then that's what you get. You get whatever people want to give you.
Right.
Typically, the complainers are 7 times more likely, I think, was the stat, to complain than a happy customer. So,
and maybe we do customer reach out before that even happens. Hey, how was your trip? Hey, this is what we didn't like about it. Cool, man. Let me get you out there for another half day. Tomorrow's supposed to be sunshiny and perfect. No sweat off me at all. Go out there and have a great time. Doesn't cost me anything. Saves my customer, gives me a 5-star review, and that machine just keeps on rolling, man. So,
yeah. But you're smart. I mean, like, obviously I did this for you, so I'm biased. But we've worked together for years on PPC. So this is not like we're just getting to know each other in 30 days. But you're willing to put kind of your money where your mouth is. Some people don't. They're afraid of the feedback from customers, but I get it. Nobody likes to feel like they're doing a bad job or their staff is doing a bad job, but you have 2 options. You could do a bad job and know it and fix it, or do a bad job and not know it and not fix it. So like, what are you going to do? Right. And reviews is and I think reviews are an extension of the work that you're doing. And of course we're working processes to get people to make that leap a little bit more often, but it's a reflection of your business. And if we can help you, and I'm just talking like on our side, but even for you, if you get your own reviews, you find your own way to do it, then that's great. Do it, like, have fun. But I think what we've learned and I think I've seen is that a lot of businesses are just busy. Like their staff ain't doing it. And if they're doing it, they're kind of doing it. Or if they are trying their best, they don't have a system that makes it easy for the customer. And it doesn't make it in a way that the customer can, simply get to the review and make that part, easy for them, right? So you ask them to do this. Yeah, go to Google, type in Destiny Water Adventures and look for the Google listing. No, not that one. That's my ad. Don't click on that one. Click this one over here. And then click on the review button and make sure you use 5-star. And they're like, okay, what was your name again? Destiny, what? Like, sometimes they don't even remember. They're half drunk or they're hungover the next day if they were on the pontoon all day, sunburnt, and they ain't thinking about you.
Yeah.
And so that's something you have to overcome, which is not, they would, like you said, they would love to do it. Life happens, man. You get busy. You got kids. You got a plane to catch. You got stuff going on. You're not the first thing on their mind, as much as it hates, as much as you hate to hear that, but sometimes your business,
especially our space. So there's so much volume. There's so much volume, and it's so obviously I'm super brand focused, but at the end of the day, we're renting people a boat. We're in a pretty saturated market. Hundreds of these things are going on every day, and we tend to become commoditized. So if you're doing something like plumbing or lawyer service or chiropractic, you're spending like an hour with somebody. I mean, you should be converting like every last one of these people. Like if you've got, how many ever clients, I mean, that should, if you're doing 10 people a week, you should be getting 10 reviews a week, period. Because if you're spending this amount of time with them and you're doing a good job, like, I mean, I recommend people all the time, bankers, accountants, PPC guys, marketers, I recommend people all the time. And that word of mouth, I mean, always translates. So it just, to me, it's just a no brainer. Like, even if you were like, hey, listen, I've got this super complicated thing and you're going to really have to put some time into it, but in the end, it's going to pay off. It's kind of like, okay, well, it's just another thing. I'll delegate it down the line to somebody else or something like this. But that's not really the case with what Dustin was doing for us. So he was just like, hey man, I'm going to do this thing and I want to check it out and see if it works. And I was like, okay, cool. And then I was like, whoa, wait a minute. What? Hold on. What are we doing? What's happening? And it was just like, bing, 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 review. 5 star. I'm like, man, this is, and then, like the 2 weeks saying, hey man, this guy like kind of like had a complaint. What do you want to do about it? I mean, it was so seamless for us. It was literally like, I didn't have to do literally nothing, except other than review. I'm going to respond. I'm going to pre-chat. And this month, I'm going to have to sit down in front of my computer for a couple hours. But again, I'm sure that if that's not a part of your game plan, that's not something you want to do. You don't want to sit down there for 2 hours and write a novel full of responses. I mean, I'm sure Dustin has a solution for you for that. I would be 100% positive he does.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of different aspects. So in your case, Kevin, and just for people watching, I mean, there's like the 100% automated approach where you don't really interact with people. But I personally feel like that's like asking for things without giving anything. And even if it's just your personality behind it, if it's like a happy, hey, thanks for being a customer type of approach. Like when it's just like everybody's getting the same thing, it just feels, I don't think that works quite as well as creating a personal connection. Yeah. And so that's why this is not like there's a lot of systems you can use that are just automated. They just shoot out this link and they email people, or they might text them, which is a better option. And it just says, hey, thanks, save us a minute, leave us a review, right? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. That will work to a degree. But if you're trying to build a good relationship with your customer and you care about them and you want also to invite other feedback, that's maybe a little more person to person, there's other ways to do that. And we have to use people for that. It doesn't mean that we're going to respond to, hey, I need my credit card information changed. Like that's on you guys, obviously, right? We're not dealing with customer service. We're just dealing with, but those things might come up, and then you have, we'll have a solution to make sure those messages get to the right person, to make sure people know. And responding to reviews, just so you know, Kevin, most of the people that left a review that we knew about, we privately, maybe not in a review on Google, I did do a bunch of them there just to catch up with some of it, but we responded to them privately and thanked them, like, hey man, you're a rock star, thanks so much. Like really simple messages like that, just to let them know, hey, look, you said, like, they'll say, like, we'll say, hey, about the review, and they'll say, hey, I'm done, I just did it, check it out or whatever, let me know what you think. They're actually looking for feedback from us on the review they left. Right. And I'm like, you're awesome, thank you so much, whatever, like we were saying something and like that was
happening back and forth through SMS, you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we were communicating that way, because it's like, look, like if you took the time to actually do what we asked you to do, and then you even message us back to say, I did it, I'm done, you're like to just ignore that person at that point, it feels like wrong. I feel like you're like
LTV. Like, I got it. Lifetime value. I got to imagine, like, without like going in, like paying for some research or study, I've got to imagine that increases your LTV, because again, like you don't even know. You're not down there every day. I don't know what transpired between them and their staff. Maybe they were just happy with the boat. They were happy with the day, but my staff didn't wild their socks off. Maybe they were just like, we got to quit using like Chris specifically
He's just a random name that happened to be in a review.
No, the guy that works for me named Chris, right? Yeah. So I don't, but let's say, Chris didn't knock their socks off, and they just, he was busy in a rush, whatever. And he, thanks for coming out. See you guys later. And didn't hit him with the 100% customer satisfaction. Man, to have that, like, hey, we're super busy, so just see sure everything went great and see how everything went. Don't know if we got an opportunity to thank you for coming out, but thank you. I mean, like, man, that's like really making sure that you're putting like a personal touch on your customer service. Like it's really that's super amazing. And I sort of knew that was happening, but now that we're having this conversation, like, man, you're almost like you're going back and going like, all right, were we swamped? Were we super busy? Did we not give them the attention to detail? And people are probably like, man, this is really cool. Like the dockhand didn't really say much to us. Now somebody's reaching out to management and just making sure that we had a good time and that everything went accordingly. It's like, boom, maybe that person walks away going, man, I rented a boat and went to Crab Island. Great day. 2, I had an experience at Destiny Water Adventures and it was awesome. So now your commodity just got branded. Like now that customer has become a return customer. One small thing, you never know what this is with people. Think about your own journey. Think about the things that you do with your family. And when you go out and somebody makes that one extra step. It's the one little thing. Maybe the steak wasn't perfectly done. Maybe the mashed potatoes weren't exactly to your liking. But man, that person, like the wait staff did something with your son or your daughter or whoever, your spouse, whatever it was, that you're like, man, they really went above and beyond. If you're going to leave that person a great tip, and that memory is going to be cemented. So if you do everything right, then you got a customer for life. And I would love to see that data and the research on that sort of stuff to see like what those little things, how they touch people and how that ends up turning into a customer that just, and then that starts lowering your marketing budget, your payments out to Google, to Facebook, everything else, because now you have a repeat customer for life. And the value of that is for however long you're in business,
Yeah. And not to mention, this is opening a line of communication with that person. And so now when you say, hey, I know you're in town. I know maybe they come back every year. Well, now you've already had a conversation with them. That's not, that's offline, let's call it, like on their phone or in an email, whatever it is. Now you can communicate, hey, Joe, just letting you know, we got this, we got some extra spots on the pontoon. I'll give you a couple bucks off if you guys are coming down this year or whatever it is. It doesn't have to be a discount. It could just be, hey, look, we're booking up quick. I'll save a spot for you if you guys are coming down this year. Just let me know. It could be something to that effect, right? And now you're not some weirdo. You're a guy that they've texted with a few times or talked to a few times. And now it's like you're filling up your own inventory with no ad spend. It's just going back through your list. And also there's an idea behind segmenting people that are locals, right? Get locals to come back in when times are slow. Hey, locals, you're one of my local people. We have a relationship. Come on down. I'll give you a break on the boat, or maybe I won't. I'll just give you, hey, an idea, something to do this weekend.
Extra hour or whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is. Like we don't have to worry about like the actual thing. The point is communicating with your customers, communicating with humans, right? It's not about technology. It's about, people forget about the communication part of, we're humans. We're not just, numbers.
I mean, it definitely does add a pretty good touch of automation to it. And
for sure.
And at the end of the day, it's like, if I'm Kevin Oneil with 2 boats and everyone comes and gets their boats from Kevin. Hey, Kevin's a great guy, man. He comes and rents his boats out. Man, I don't know. I'm going to be like dying of melanoma by the time I'm 52 because I'm out there pushing boat rentals every single day for a couple $100, man, which is great. And I might be the most beloved guy, man. But that's the difference between having a lifestyle business and scaling. Like I want to still have that personal touch, right? I still want people to come back and be like, but it's not Kevin. Kevin's not, I can't do everything. I can't, man. I got 3 kids. I got a family. I've got like a ton of priorities, and I want to be Kevin to I want to rent boats. I want to rent Jeeps. I want to do everything, man. You want to
live the life.
I want to rule the world, man. I want to run for president one day, to try and instill that in your employees is going to go so far. But if you can sort of like find a tool, or again, a process, a standard operating procedure, and in this case, it's automating your reviews, that manages to still get that Kevin touch there, to still feel like you're interacting with Kevin, even though it might be one of Kevin's staff. And frankly, let's just get Kevin out of the equation. We're back to branding as Destiny Water Adventures. Like, man, the way they really treat us like we're family every single time we come in there. We had this amazing experience. They always want to make sure that we got feedback on the boat, on the day, how everything went. You know, they're always reaching out and making sure that we had a great time. And that you make that connection then, and that you get that mom and pop operation without having to grind it out 18 hours a day, you know, putting the gas in the boat or whatever it is, being the guy that's fixing the dishwasher, being the guy that's, you know, the one that has to take every single phone call, answer every single email. And you don't get to work on your business because you're forced to work in your business. And I'm a huge proponent and I'm a huge advocate for where you can, increasing the UX, but also making sure that you still have time to run your business and run the business of your life. So if you can find an automated approach, also with a little human element into it, that's not like, you know, again, it's something you can train somebody to do, to make sure that people's, you know, their concerns are being heard, and their praises are being felt, and you get to continue the conversation. Again, it's something I always talk about. Anytime I have one of these conversations, I always talk about the customer journey and the continuation of the conversation after the fact. And I think that's what this process does. And I think it's a great system and it's a great process. And if done right, and your customer service is across the board, I mean, it just, again, going back to what do you think that's worth? Man, it's worth your whole business, because if you don't have that, you don't have a business. You know?
I agree. I mean, quite honestly, I mean, it really depends on your volume, but the way I was looking at it is, if you just took, let's just say $1 per customer and reinvested it into a process like this, right? So every customer comes in, you make $300, $400, $200, $100, whatever it is. You just take one of those dollars and it handles this kind of a process or system or whatever. And I don't know if the math is going to work exactly for everybody, but just think about reinvesting in that experience. Take that customer to $1, or maybe it's $2, depending on how low a volume you are or where you're at. But just think about it that way, because if you reinvest what that customer's already paid you to improve their time and the next person, it's a good way to look at it. Because a lot of times we think, how much are we getting from a customer? How much are we earning? We don't think about what we should be reinvesting that way. Yeah. And overall, it's a pretty low number when you look at it from that perspective, but it can have high impact. And what we didn't talk about, and we won't go into it much more, but is the pre-experience, like pre-selling the experience, right? So they're going to have a rental with you. Let's send them a text or a message. It could be email or text, whatever, or a voicemail or a call that sets the expectation. Hey, so glad you're coming out today. Just make sure you're there by 8:30. Here's where you can go. Here's a link to the Google map. So they're not fumbling around their phone trying to figure out with 2 kids underneath their arm and bags over there and coolers and they're dragging. Like, think about what would make that experience easy for them. What would make it memorable, fun, convenient. And if you can take your voice, just say in your case, Kevin, because you're a fun guy, you want to say things in a certain way. Well, you can template these messages to be that way every time.
Yeah, so like I love to swear. I love having.
Okay, but we're not going to go there.
Like constant vulgarity
in
every message, every email. How the bleep are you doing, man? Come on, get a bleeping boat from us. We're giving you one hell of a time, man. We'll go there. I'll punch you in the face.
Yeah, but if you're worried about your customer, your staff saying things the way they should say them, whether it's swearing or not, at least you know that it's going to be a consistent kind of message. You know the timing will be consistent, so everybody's going to more or less get the same experience. It's not like, oh crap, I didn't call that guy Jim who's renting at 4. Oh, darn, now he's not going to know where to go. Or I got busy. I was on the other line with this guy over here. And while everybody right now is really hurting for staff, and I don't know if that's happening in your market, but across all the service industries right now, there's a huge employee shortage. I mean, look at all the boats out there in the bay, depending on when you're watching this. It's just crazy. So it's hard to hire new people. And if you don't hire new people because you need them, it means the ones you have are probably going to be overworked. So how do you make their job easier? How do you help them do an awesome job with less effort? And so partially automating the experience, not 100%, because I don't think you can go that far unless you're Amazon. Partially automating it, makes a lot of sense, especially among the things like how you're going to say certain things and when people get certain messages. when they get certain responses and the way you respond to them, that sort of thing. I think it's a real good benefit for people who they say, well, I'm just too busy. Okay, well, this is exactly why you need something to do it for you, or somebody to do it for you, because you're too busy. You just said it yourself. And people would sacrifice for that. They don't realize that they're missing out on something that's important because they think that they're too busy. And you don't have to be less busy. You just have to have a process.
Yeah. I think like if you just really want to do like a like sort of like a study of this sort of thing, something again I always talk about. I was like WWWD, right? What would Walt Disney do? WWWD, what would Walt Disney do? Because I think that's when, especially in our market, we're talking about tourism, things to do, right? And tourism activity sector. You're in the almighty things to do search, right? So if you're a thing to do, if you're a fun thing to do, all right, look at Walt Disney, look how they do it. Like they personalize everything, every last bit of it, man, to the little bracelets with the RFID chips with your kid's name on it. Like, man, they personalize everything. When you go there, you're just like, man, it's like, it's just like for me, like all these specials, it's like my turn for the fast pass. But it's all automated. There's an entire system and process behind that. And then people are trained in just the most fantastic customer service. Like you go to Disney World, it is personalized, it's memorable, the staff is wonderful, the journey before you get there, the journey after you leave, the whole thing, the build up to getting to Walt Disney World, right? It's fun. Like, and really, but you are being sold. You are being marketed upsell products. You're giving operational stuff. Like this is what time you're checking in. We're going to have this for you. Keep in mind there's shuttles. So they're transferring all this information. Like they're giving you the whole experience. It's not like they're trying to like hide anything or be sneaky about it. It's just like, hey, like based on this, you might be interested that we offer this. Well, yes, Disney, I am interested in this. Let's go back to that study I referenced earlier from the Arrival guys when they said like price was the lowest thing. Like nobody, when you're going on vacation, you have of course you have a budget, all right, but you're going there, you're looking for convenience, you're looking for things nearby, you're looking for great food, you're looking for the best customer service, you're looking for activity A, B, C, the beach, whatever it may be. And you're in these planning stages, and sometimes you get right down to the last second, the last 24 hours, the last 48 hours, which just so we're clear, and I know in our space, like that's when the majority of purchases are made. Just so a little piece of information there, that 24 out of 48 attribution window. So there might then go like, oh no, we didn't. Okay, what you have a paddleboard that we can add on? We didn't know that. Yes, we do want that. So it's not like you're trying to like, hey man, you're not doing anything sleazy. You're not like trying to be super selly. You're just like, hey, you might have missed this in our material. In addition to all the things, make sure you have your sunscreen. You might need a boater safety test. This is a YouTube video on the navigational characteristics of our waterways. These are all really important things. Also, we have a water mat that you might be interested in. Oh, awesome. Yeah, that sounds like a great addition. So yeah, you're given all these opportunities to do like upsells and remarketing on some of your other things. And then again, let's get that all the way. We won't be greedy capitalists, entrepreneurs. We'll just talk about making life easy on your staff and making the journey for your customer easier. Where we go, where do we park? What are we looking to go to? It's a transformation. It's a transfer of information at a very easy, digestible level for people to understand, and they understand text messages because where are we 90% of the time? Our head's in a friggin' phone, and then we have to go spend thousands of dollars to go be outside. Forget about the phone. But the point being is you are trying to save them time and money and provide them an optimal experience. Not everybody's going like, man, how can I save $1? I don't want to be anything. No, like there's just a ton of applications. It's the conversation. Again, we talked about after, now we're talking about before. I mean, for us, it's like, man, I got to get tests out to people sometimes. If they want to operate a jet ski and they're born after January 1st, 1988, they have to take a test. Thank God they started offering the test online. They only started doing that about 2 years ago. Before it was all paper. So we had to like keep on hitting them with these messages and calling them with, you guys got to be here 45 minutes early. You got to be here 45 minutes early. Sometimes we still have to do that. But now it's like, hey guys, if you would like, you can take the test before you get here. Here's a link to your boat.ed site. Take it, you get here. You can get here 15 minutes before your tour starts. Get on your ski, go and have fun. Or if you guys want to take it in person, arrive 45 minutes early. Here's your study guide, a link to that. Here's a waiver. Here's a link to that. Like there's a process in it. There's a whole lot of things when you're going into renting boats and doing jet skis, or you're going to Disney World. There's a ton of stuff you have to do. If you wait to the time that person gets there, then they're sitting there going like, oh, awesome. I can't wait for the next hour of information about my boat rental and the ensuing paperwork that's coming and the waivers and the characteristics of our waterways. By the way, we have a safety video that the FWC requires that you watch. Like, okay, cool. You can sit out on a picnic bench in the 9,000 degree Florida weather, or you can get that done the night before after you get done, you're cruising around, sitting on your bed, you had dinner. You're like, oh man, we got to do a few things before we get to the thing tomorrow. You don't have to wake up at 8:30. You can get there by, 15 minutes before your reservation starts. And you don't have to round up the kids because you took the time to optimize your I started optimizing vacation because I'm the one who does all this stuff for my family. So I get it. I plan all of our vacations. So I like want all of these things. I want the fast pass. I want the bracelet. I want the convenience. I want to have everything lined up so I can take my phone, throw it in the car, stop thinking about things, and enjoy myself while I'm there and get the most out of the leisure time, the very small amount that I get. Like I want to be quality. So
yeah, I think you're right. I mean, a couple of quick points and we'll end the video is that you're right. People are not always focused on price. Like if you ask me, and really I think it depends on presentation, which is a whole other topic, is if you tell me, hey, you want to spend $10 for this add-on, and you don't really understand what the add-on is, and maybe it's maybe $10 is too cheap for something. Maybe it's $30 for, let's just say, two rafts you can have with your pontoon, right? Sure. But it's like, hey, you want to have a little bit of extra fun with rafts, and you have them on the boat already for you, ready to go. It's only $30 versus saying, here's $30 for 2 tubes, right? The way you present it is also a factor, because for me, I don't want the cheapest, I want the best value. Right. And if I feel that those $30 and the value I get from them is worth it, I'm going to buy it. Yeah. Right. Because we're not price sensitive, but we are value sensitive a lot of times. And also, like you, I plan all our vacations, and I hate not knowing how this thing's going to play out. I am a little ADD and a little analytical. That's why I do what I do. But I don't like surprises the last minute. Like if I would know I have to rent a jet ski and I'm going to sit out there in a 90-degree heat and I didn't know that, I'm going to be really pissed off. Like you're going to have to really, like, you want me to give you a review now? I don't think you do. Because like maybe you didn't take the time to give me an option to do it before, to do it when it was convenient for me. Now I got to find out the hard way and be stuck here, right? So I think even in that respect, like giving people away, because what happens is you might have been sending people an email for years, but it always hits their spam box, or people don't check their email, or it's one of 500 emails in their inbox they forgot to check. A text, you're going to get it to them at least, and that's another way that you can have a two-way communication, where you might just text them and follow up. Hey, did you take the boat test? Oh, no, we didn't do it. Okay, you might want to do that before the night comes. That way you don't have to worry about doing it tomorrow on the heat. And they might say, okay, hey, thanks for the heads up on that, right? Like just being courteous. And there's ways you can automate even that process, right? Booking starts at X amount of time, send a text out, within a reasonable hour of the day, the night before, let's say. Did you take the boat test? If not, here's the link again, so you're not stuck outside in the hot sun for an hour, or however you want to word it in Kevin voice, right? Yeah, but it's just swearing process convenient for the customer. And if they buy more, they buy more. If they don't, they don't. But at least they're not upset. And then you got your staff over there trying to get them through a test, show them a video, doing all this stuff because they really didn't expect it, didn't plan for it, even though you told them on the phone, your email confirmation, the booking confirmation, told them all this information. People don't read that crap. Yeah. They just don't. No. And if they do, they forget. Yeah. Right. So it's like, how do you make it almost like dummy proof? Like in my business, I'm doing whatever I can to make our processes dummy proof. I don't hire dummies, but I feel like if it's closer to being dummy proof, then, human beings are not perfect. And sometimes you make mistakes. It just makes it a little bit easier to let that not happen.
Yeah, no, 80% of my customers are idiots. No, I love them, but I'm sorry. You guys anybody behind the wheel of a jet ski or a boat, I immediately go into thinking you're an idiot. Like, I'm sorry, but if you put me on a motorcycle, guess what? Idiot. Snowmobile, idiot. When you go, hey, you got to provide information to people. Sometimes like super important educational stuff. Like you really need these people's eyes on their screen at this point in time. You need to make sure that they're doing this. And then if you have these like open rates and you can like sort of like measure the amount of time that they've spent, like, even through the like limited sort of stuff that Fair Harbor has, like I could just show if their email got opened or not, like that was a great tool. When someone goes, well, I didn't get a confirmation, then I can like turn the thing around. I'm like, no, you did, and you opened it. Like I can. It says that I didn't write that there. Like you opened that email. I know. So I can only assume that you guys have some type of process that what the amount of time that people are spending on the stuff, like especially like video views and stuff like that, and time spent watching it. So I mean, it's super important. I've seen people watch safety videos and they watch it like this. Now you can't. Well, where is this going? YouTube or something like that?
Yeah, we're gonna be on YouTube. We're gonna be
okay. So this is how This is how they watch an educational video that's super important, right? This is exactly how they watch it. Screen's there, eyes here. I'm like, hey, Skippy, like, are you paying attention? Like, I really actually need you to watch that. And then they come back with $4,000 damage in my jet ski. And then they're like, well, nobody told us. I'm like, well, we did, but it was just in this video that you zoned out to. Now, will they pay attention to it at home? Maybe. I mean, I don't know. Maybe people on their phone, there's not a lot going on and whatever, But at the end of the day, it's like, I mean, you can prove it. You can be like, I sent it to you, I gave it to you, you opened it, you watched it. We have like a heat map, a digital footprint of the whole journey that you took. So, I mean, man, like that opens the doors of like litigation and stuff like that. Like, no, man, we reached out to like 100 times and explained and told, and there's no, like, we did have this conversation, and then you have a record of the conversation. So, I mean, when you reached out to me and said, hey, Kevin, I got this idea, there's things I want to do with this, and there's some stuff, and you asked me what I needed, and I'm just like, man, like we've been shopping around, like trying to find an all-in-one solution for this, like, and we do need it now. We needed it at the beginning of June. It was like a really great time for us to see everything kind of like happen in action in real time. And I mean, for our industry, it's just, again, go look at Walt Disney, see how they do it. And I guarantee you, if you're not employing at least some of this stuff, if you got a clipboard and a piece of paper, and that piece of paper has got a waiver on it, it's being stored in some, and I know because I do it, it's being stored in some bin somewhere, and you get a lawsuit like 3 years later and you don't have a proper accounting of where all this stuff is. Like, I mean, this is where the whole world's going, and there's just so many applications that, I think Dustin and his team can probably provide. And not to come off pitchy or like a commercial, it's just like we're just sort of entering into a quasi new phase of like tours and activities from like independent operators have just operated a certain way for 30 years, and it's really, man, it's cost people so much, man, like licenses, insurance, like just because stuff wasn't accounted for properly. And again, the only way you do that is having a system of process. And if you have a standarding operated procedure that's automated, that backs everything up, that keeps the logs of things, that keeps everything, inventoried for you, as it were. I mean, it's really hard to make an argument against that when you have a digital footprint of everything that happens. So, I mean, I guess this is like a whole other conversation. I'm sure that this is stuff that you are actively, I'm sure, looking into or getting involved in, or like the process of doing, not just reviews, it's everything. So
no, reviews is just kind of the thing that we kind of jumped out with, and there's the whole thing. So like, just for people that are watching, if they're like, what the heck is all this about? What is Kevin referring to? So basically, just to recap, I mean, we worked on getting him reviews, putting some process together, but we're doing this for tour operators that are, right now they're using Fair Harbor. We integrate with them, but there's also other applications for this for people who are not on Fair Harbor, or people who are not tour operators. It's not something that's specific to only that industry, obviously, but that's one of the things we're working on. And really what we're working on is a way to help communicate with customers better, a way to leverage your staff's time, have a better customer experience, convert more of your web traffic into customers. How do we communicate with them in a way they want to be communicated with? And that's really where we're going and how we're helping businesses, in addition to what we've always done, which is, Google ads and PPC and that sort of a thing. So this is not anything that's dramatically different. It's just that for years and years, clients have asked us about this, and they've had issues doing it themselves. And so rather than fight the tide, we just decided to kind of go all in and make this part of what we offer, just baked into what we do, and or it could be standalone. But I definitely don't want to run ads without having some sort of a automated back end to help convert those people, if nothing else, into a customer or into a lead. So that's one aspect of it. But Kevin, I want to thank you for spending, I don't know, like, how long has it been? A while. I can't even tell.
I don't know. Hopefully my kids are still alive. At one point, I was like waving them off. There was like the door open. I can't see over the top. Right. I don't know which one it was, but I was like, go away, go away. I know you want something. Like, feed me. Like, no, I'm talking about marketing.
My dog was in here. She was doing rounds. I'm like,
got my headphones and my mic. I'm doing my thing over here, man. Just getting famous, 50 views at a time.
Yeah, man. No, but I appreciate you coming on, just chatting with me. And, again, I'll share this with the world.
Cool.
Much of the little world that we can impact. And I appreciate it, man. It's always good to chat with you. And thanks for having me on your podcast not long ago. Why don't you plug where you're at, the podcast, that so everybody that's a tour operator can check it out as well.
Yeah, it's called Dad White T-Shirts, the podcast. Like, why do all dads just wear white T-shirts? Like, we're the most laziest guys ever. We have the Awkward Watersports Guys podcast that can be found on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you find your favorite podcast. If you want to reach out to me for any way, want a boat rental or something like that, you can email info@Destiny Water Adventures. If you want to wax about business or marketing, you can go get at me at Kevin@Destiny Water Adventures. And here's my personal phone. No, I'm just kidding. don't call me. Please,
I'm waiting for the bank account number. That's what I'm waiting for.
I hate phone calls. I love SMS. Oh, look, I plugged you again. But yeah, man, thanks for having me on. It was a great time. I love talking business. I love talking water sports and marketing. So it was great, man. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it. All right.
Salute.
Take care, everybody. All right.